The rain hammered against the hotel window as Maya's spine arched, her nails digging into silk sheets. Jae's mouth traced fire down her throat, his fingers tangling in her braids. For one intoxicating night, consequences didn't exist. Only heat, hunger, and the dangerous chemistry between two strangers who never should have collided. "We shouldn't," she gasped, though her body said otherwise. Too late, he breathed against her skin, and kissed her like tomorrow didn't matter. But that night, that single reckless decision, was 5 years behind her now. And standing in the pristine lobby of Horizon Logistics, clutching her visitor badge with white knuckles, Maya Carter was about to learn that some secrets refuse to stay buried. They just hibernate, gathering strength, waiting for the perfect moment to destroy everything you've built. Welcome back, friends. This is Prince of Afro-Korean stories, where passion, danger, and impossible romance intersect. Please keep sharing your ideas for future episodes. And kindly like, share, and subscribe, and activate notifications so you never miss our latest content. 3 months before, Busan's Haeundae district had sparkled with promise. The beachfront glittered at night, luxury apartments rising like glass monuments to wealth. But in a cramped restaurant kitchen called Ocean View, where the only ocean visible was through a grimy side window, Maya sweated over industrial stoves and counted tips that never quite covered her bills. The heat was suffocating. Orders kept coming. Her manager, Mrs. Kim, barked instructions in rapid Korean that Maya sometimes struggled to follow, despite having lived here since childhood. Her Nigerian father and Korean mother had given her this life, this country, this perpetual sense of not quite fitting anywhere. "Order up for table 9, Jung called from the pass, her expression sympathetic. She was the only co-worker who understood just how close Maya was to the edge. Maya grabbed the plates, forcing brightness into her tired face. 28 years old, drowning in debt from her mother's medical bills, her father having returned to Lagos years ago after the divorce. The restaurant job barely kept her afloat, but options for a black woman in Korea, even one who spoke fluent Korean, were depressingly limited. "You look exhausted," Jung said during their smoke break, though neither of them actually smoked. They just needed air. 4 hours of sleep counts as exhausted, right? Maya tried to joke. "When's your rent due?" "Yesterday." "Maya." "I know. I'm handling it." Except she wasn't. The eviction notice was already taped to her door, and her landlord had stopped accepting promises. That night, as Maya locked up the restaurant alone, a black Mercedes pulled up to the curb. The window lowered, revealing a woman in her 40s, elegant in ways that made Maya immediately aware of her stained uniform and exhausted face. "Maya Carter?" "Who's asking?" "Someone who can solve your financial problems." The woman extended a business card. "My employer needs staff for a private event tonight. 12 hours of work. 10 million won." Maya's heart stuttered. 10 million won, enough to clear her rent, pay down her mother's bills, maybe breathe for the first time in months. "What kind of event?" "The kind where you serve drinks, stay quiet, and forget everything you see." The woman's smile didn't reach her eyes. "A car will collect you at 11. Wear all black. Be invisible." Every instinct screamed danger. But desperation has its own logic, and Maya's survival instincts had been ground down by months of barely surviving. "I'll be ready." Jung's voice echoed in her memory as Maya showered and changed hours later. If something seems too good to be true, it's because someone powerful wants you to ignore that fact. But 10 million won was 10 million won, and Maya had stopped having the luxury of good choices. The Mercedes returned at 11 sharp. The driver remained silent as they left Busan behind, heading north into mountains Maya didn't recognize. After an hour, they pulled up to what looked like an abandoned resort, the kind of place that had been luxurious once but now sat dark and forgotten. Except it wasn't forgotten at all. Inside, the transformation was shocking. Crystal chandeliers, imported liquor, men in suits worth more than cars. The air was thick with cigar smoke, expensive cologne, and barely concealed violence. "You'll work the main floor," a stern woman in black instructed, pressing a tray into Maya's hands. "No questions. No conversations unless they speak first. No eye contact. Your furniture. Understand?" Maya nodded, her mouth dry. This wasn't a party. This was a gathering of predators, and she was walking among them with a tray of champagne. She moved through the crowd like a ghost, catching fragments of conversation that made her blood run cold. Territory disputes, shipments from overseas, politicians on payrolls. Every instinct told her she was witnessing things people died for knowing. Then the room shifted. The conversations didn't stop, but they quieted. Men straightened imperceptibly, their body language changing from relaxed to respectful. Maya looked toward the entrance and saw him. Park Jae moved like winter wind, silent and absolute. Younger than most men in the room, perhaps 35, but carrying authority that made age irrelevant. His face was beautiful in a dangerous way, all sharp angles and cold eyes that missed nothing. He wore black on black, and when he walked, the crowd parted instinctively. Maya froze mid-step, her tray trembling in her hands. His gaze swept the room with predatory precision, cataloging threats and allies in seconds. Then his eyes found hers. The moment stretched, pulled thin like taffy. Something flickered in his expression, surprise or recognition or curiosity, something that suggested she'd disrupted his carefully controlled world. Then someone spoke to him, and the moment shattered. Maya remembered to breathe. She spent the next 2 hours trying to disappear, but felt his attention like heat against her skin. 3 times their eyes met across the room, and each time sent electricity down her spine that had nothing to do with fear and everything to do with something far more dangerous. Near 1 in the morning, Maya stepped onto the terrace for air. The mountain darkness was complete, stars scattered overhead like broken glass. She gripped the railing, trying to steady her racing pulse. "Beautiful night," a voice said behind her. She spun. Jay stood in the doorway, silhouetted against the interior light. Up close, he was even more devastating, tall and lean with the kind of presence that bent reality around him. "I'm sorry, I shouldn't be out here," Maya stammered. "Stay." Not a command. An invitation. He moved to the railing beside her, maintaining careful distance. "You're new." "First night." "How did you know?" "You look like you want to run." "Should I?" His mouth almost smiled. "Probably." "Then why tell me to stay?" "Because sometimes the dangerous choice is the interesting one." He studied her profile. "What's your name?" "Maya." "Maya Carter." "Korean mother?" "Yes." "And you feel caught between both worlds?" The observation surprised her. Most people made assumptions, but rarely asked. "Every single day." "I understand that," Jay said quietly. "Looking like you belong everywhere but feeling like you belong nowhere." "You?" She couldn't keep the skepticism from her voice. "You look like you own everything you touch." Owning and belonging are different things. His expression shifted, became almost human. "Why are you here, Maya Carter?" "Money." "Same reason anyone does things they shouldn't." "Honest." "I appreciate that." He turned to face her fully. You should leave Korea. This country isn't kind to people who still have something to lose. People like me? People who haven't learned to stop caring. The words hung between them, heavy with meaning. Maya should have been terrified. Everything about this man radiated danger. But there was something in his eyes, a loneliness that echoed her own, that made him seem almost human. "What about you?" she asked, surprising herself. "What have you lost?" Jae's jaw tightened. "Everything. And then I learned to stop mourning it." "I don't believe you." "You should." But his eyes told a different story. Maya stepped closer, propelled by something she couldn't name. Recklessness, attraction, the intoxicating pull of someone who understood isolation. "Tell me I'm wrong," she challenged. "Tell me you don't feel this too." Jae looked at her like a man at war with himself. Then he closed the distance, his hand cupping her face with unexpected gentleness. "This is a mistake," he murmured. "Then let's make it together," Maya whispered. The kiss was inevitable, desperate, two lonely people finding connection in the worst possible moment. His hands tangled in her hair, her fingers gripped his shoulders, and the dangerous world around them dissolved until nothing existed but this moment, this impossible connection. Jae pulled back first, breathing unsteady. "Come with me." It was a question, not a demand. An offering of choice she hadn't expected. Maya should have refused. Should have run back to her tiny apartment and forgotten this night ever happened. Instead, she took his hand. Maya woke to unfamiliar luxury. The bed was impossibly soft, the sheets felt like clouds against her skin. Morning light filtered through massive windows overlooking the ocean. For a disoriented heartbeat, she couldn't place where she was. Then memory crashed back, the party, the terrace, Jae's hands on her skin, the desperate passion that had consumed them both. She sat up abruptly, clutching sheets to her chest. The penthouse was empty. On the nightstand sat an envelope thick with cash and a small black card embossed with a silver hawk. No words. No explanation. Maya dressed quickly, hands shaking. What had she done? She'd slept with someone clearly dangerous, someone whose mere presence had silenced an entire room. She'd crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed, and now she had to live with the consequences. She fled like a ghost fleeing dawn. The next 3 weeks passed in anxious haze. Maya returned to Ocean View, threw herself into work, tried to convince herself that night had been an aberration, a fevered dream that would fade with time. She paid her rent, cleared some debt, tried not to think about dark eyes and the way her name had sounded in Jae's voice. If this hooked you already, don't forget to subscribe, like, and drop a comment because what happens next will absolutely shatter your expectations. Then Ocean View burned. It happened on a Thursday night, just after closing. Maya had left 10 minutes earlier, was halfway to the bus stop when she heard the explosion. She turned to see flames erupting from the kitchen, orange and furious against the night sky. Windows shattered, smoke billowed, people screamed. Young, God, where was Young? Maya ran back, but hands grabbed her, held her back. Fire trucks arrived, sirens wailing. Later, she learned Young had left early, that no one had died. But the message was clear. This wasn't an accident. This was a warning. That night, huddled in her apartment with the lights off, Maya discovered she was pregnant. The test showed 2 pink lines, stark and undeniable. She took 4 more tests, each confirming what her body had been trying to tell her. The exhaustion, the nausea, the way smells made her stomach revolt. She was carrying Park Jae's child. A man she'd spent one night with. A man who commanded criminals with a look. A man who'd given her money and vanished like smoke. Maya's hands trembled as she stared at the tests lined up on her bathroom counter. She had 3 choices. Terminate the pregnancy, try to find Jay and tell him, or disappear. The first option made her heart clench with unexpected grief. The second was suicide. What would a man like that do with an inconvenient complication? The third was the only one that made sense. She called Young first. I need to leave Busan tonight. Maya, what's happening? That night at the resort. I think I'm in danger. Will you help me? There was a long pause. Where will you go? Seoul. I have a friend there from university. She'll take me in, at least temporarily. This is because of him, isn't it? The man who hired you. Please, Young. I just need to disappear. Another pause. Okay. I'll help you pack. By dawn, Maya was on a train to Seoul with everything she owned in 2 suitcases. She watched Busan disappear through the window, the city that had given her both parents and taken them both away, her mother to cancer, her father to heartbreak and distance. She pressed a hand to her still flat stomach and made a promise. Whatever it took, she would protect this child. She would give them the life she'd dreamed of. She had no idea there were 2 of them. Seoul was a different kind of survival. Maya's university friend, Soo Jin, lived in a cramped apartment in Mapo and worked in marketing. She gave Maya her couch and asked minimal questions, for which Maya was desperately grateful. Finding work while visibly pregnant proved nearly impossible. Employers took one look at her growing belly and suddenly positions had been filled. The discrimination was subtle but relentless. Finally, she found work at a convenience store, night shifts for cash that kept her afloat. The pregnancy was difficult. Maya was sick constantly, her body struggling with something she didn't understand until the ultrasound. Oh, there are 2, the technician said, surprise clear in her voice. Had sent Maya into a panic attack so severe they almost hospitalized her. Twins. She was going to have twins alone, in a city where she barely knew anyone, running from a man who could probably find her if he wanted to. But when Min and Ari were born on a cold February morning, tiny and perfect and utterly dependent, Maya felt something shift in her chest. Love, fierce and protective and all-consuming. These girls were hers. They had her dark skin and their father's sharp features, and she would die before letting anything hurt them. The years that followed were brutal. Maya worked constantly, convenience stores at night, cleaning offices during the day, sometimes sleeping 3 hours before starting again. Min and Ari grew up in daycare centers and with babysitters, and the guilt gnawed at Maya constantly. But she was building something, savings, stability, a future. She never told them about their father. How could she? What would she say? That she'd spent one reckless night with a dangerous man and they were the consequence? That their father was likely a criminal? Who commanded fear with a look? Instead, she told them fairy tales. She told them their daddy was a warrior from a faraway land who had loved their mother very much but had to stay and protect his people. The girls accepted this with the easy faith of children, and Maya's heart broke a little more each time they asked when the warrior was coming home. By the time the twins turned 5, Maya had saved enough money and built enough experience to apply for better positions. When the offer came from Horizon Logistics, a prestigious company with excellent pay and benefits, she cried in the bathroom of her small apartment. "We're moving to a bigger place," she told the girls that night. "Will we meet Daddy there?" Min asked, her dark eyes wide with hope. "Maybe someday, sweetheart," Maya lied, and hated herself for it. Seoul's Gangnam district gleamed with the same expensive promise she remembered from years ago. The coffee at the shop near her new office cost twice what it had 5 years earlier, but underneath, the bones of the city remained unchanged. Still ambitious. Still ruthless. Still beautiful in its cruelty. Maya found a decent apartment, enrolled the girls in a good school, and started her first day at Horizon Logistics with cautious optimism. The company occupied a sleek tower, all modern glass and corporate professionalism. Her orientation was efficient, impersonal. Here's your desk. Here's your login. Here's the break room. You'll meet Director Park tomorrow, her supervisor said. He likes to personally welcome all new administrative staff. Maya nodded, only half listening. Director Park was probably some middle-aged executive with a golf habit and a loveless marriage. She had work to learn, reports to file. The real work of surviving was just beginning. That night, putting the girls to bed, Maya felt something close to peace. They'd made it. Against all odds, they'd built a life. Maybe Seoul could be a fresh start, a place where the past stayed buried and the future held possibility. She should have known better. The next morning, Maya dressed carefully in her best professional outfit, a charcoal blazer and pencil skirt she'd bought specifically for this job. She styled her hair, applied minimal makeup, practiced her confident smile in the bathroom mirror. First impressions mattered, and she was determined to make a good one. You look pretty, Mama, Ari said, tugging on her sleeve. Thank you, baby. Maya kissed her forehead. Be good for Miss Lee today, okay? Okay. The elevator ride to the executive floor felt endless. Maya's palms were sweaty, her heart racing with nerves that were completely normal for meeting your new boss. The hallway was hushed, carpeted in charcoal gray with minimalist art on the walls that probably cost more than her annual salary. The receptionist smiled. Director Park is ready for you. Go right in. Maya knocked once, then opened the door. The office was massive, windows overlooking the city, everything in shades of black and gray. And behind the enormous desk, turning from where he'd been gazing out the window, was Park Jae. Time stopped. The world tilted on its axis. Maya's rehearsed greeting died in her throat as 5 years collapsed into nothing. He looked exactly the same. The same sharp features, the same dark eyes, the same dangerous beauty that had undone her completely. His expression cycled through shock, recognition, and something unreadable before settling into careful neutrality. Miss Carter. Please sit down. Maya's legs carried her to the chair on autopilot. Her mind was screaming. Horizon Logistics. Of course. The hawk on the black card he'd left her. This wasn't just a logistics company. It was a front, had to be. And she'd walked right back into his world. Her voice cracked. I didn't know. Clearly. Jay sat behind his desk, posture perfect, expression unreadable. 5 years, Maya. You disappeared completely. No trace. No contact. I had my reasons. I'm sure you did. His eyes were cold now, evaluating. The question is whether those reasons still apply. Maya's hands clenched in her lap. Director Park Jae, we're well past formalities, don't you think? The intimacy in his voice sent shivers down her spine. This is a mistake. I should resign. You just started. That would look suspicious. He leaned forward slightly. Tell me, Maya, why did you really come back to Seoul? And don't tell me it was just for this job. You're intelligent enough to have researched the company, seen my name. I didn't research that deeply, she admitted. I needed the job. The salary. The benefits. I have, she stopped herself. You have what? Jay's eyes narrowed. What kind of responsibilities? This was it. The moment where she could come clean or dig herself deeper into lies. Maya thought of Min and Ari, their bright smiles and innocent questions about their father. She thought of what a man like Jay would do if he knew the truth. Debts, she lied. Student loans. The usual. He studied her for a long moment, and Maya had the terrible feeling he knew she wasn't telling the truth. Well, Miss Carter, welcome to Horizon Logistics. I expect excellent work from all my employees. Don't disappoint me. I won't. Good. You're dismissed. Maya stood on shaking legs, heading for the door. She was reaching for the handle when Jay spoke again. Maya. She froze but didn't turn around. I know about the twins. Her blood turned to ice. Slowly, she turned to face him. What? Jay stood, moving around his desk with predatory grace. Did you really think you could hide from me? I've had people aware of you since you left Busan. I know where you live. I know where your daughters go to school. I know they're 5 years old, born 9 months after our night together. Stay away from them, Maya whispered, fear making her voice shake. They're mine too, aren't they? He was close now. Too close. Min and Ari. Beautiful names. They have your eyes. Jay, please. I'm not going to hurt them, Maya. I'm not a monster. His jaw tightened. But we need to talk. About everything. Tomorrow night. 7 o'clock. I'll send a car to your apartment. And if I refuse? Then I'll show up at your door, and your daughters will meet their father for the first time in a much less controlled environment. Your choice. Maya felt tears prick her eyes. You're backing me into a corner. Yes, he said simply. Because you left me no other option. You took my children and ran, Maya. Did you really think there wouldn't be consequences? I was protecting them. From what? From me? His voice rose slightly, the first crack in his controlled demeanor. I would never hurt them. I would never hurt you. But you didn't give me the chance to prove that, did you? You decided I was a monster and ran. You are a monster. Maya shot back. You run a criminal organization. You terrify people with a look. That night at the resort, I saw what you are, Jay. And I wasn't going to let my children grow up in that world. Our children, he corrected coldly. And you're already back in that world, whether you want to admit it or not. You work for me now. You live in a city I have significant influence over. There's nowhere in Seoul you can go that I can't reach. The words hung between them, heavy and threatening. Maya felt her carefully constructed life crumbling around her. What do you want from me? The truth, Jay said. All of it. Tomorrow night. And after that, we figure out how to move forward. There is no moving forward. There's just survival. Then we'll survive together. Maya left his office on trembling legs, her mind racing. She had 24 hours to figure out what to do. 24 hours before the father of her children, a dangerous, powerful man she'd spent 5 years running from, demanded answers she wasn't sure she could give. That evening, watching Min and Ari play with their dolls, Maya's phone buzzed. Unknown number. The message was simple. I'm not your enemy, Maya. But I will be in my daughters' lives. Accept that, or fight me. Either way, tomorrow we talk. Maya looked at her girls, her beautiful, innocent girls who knew nothing of the world closing in around them. Min looked up and smiled, holding up a drawing. "Look, Mama. I drew the warrior from your phone." Maya's heart stopped. "What? The man in the picture? From your phone? The one you look at sometimes when you think we're sleeping?" With shaking hands, Maya took the drawing. In crayon and childish lines, but unmistakable, was Jay's face. She must have kept that photo buried deep in her phone's memory, and Min had found it somehow. "Is that Daddy?" Ari asked, crowding close. Maya opened her mouth to lie, to deflect, to protect them from the truth. But before she could speak, she looked out the window and saw it. A black car parked across the street. In the driver's seat, barely visible in the gathering dark, was a figure watching their apartment. Her phone buzzed again. "Sleep well, Maya. Tomorrow, everything changes." As Maya pulled her daughters close, their small bodies warm and trusting against hers, she understood with terrible clarity that running was no longer an option. The past had caught up. The future was uncertain. And the man she'd spent one desperate night with 5 years ago was about to upend her entire world. Tomorrow, she would face him. Tomorrow, she would have to tell her daughters the truth. Tomorrow, everything would change. But tonight, for just a few more hours, she could hold them and pretend they were still safe. That the warrior in their fairy tale was still an ocean away, and not parked outside their window, waiting with the patience of a man who'd learned that nothing worth having ever came easy. The city lights flickered on across Seoul, indifferent and beautiful, as Maya whispered prayers she wasn't sure anyone was listening to, and held her daughters like they might disappear if she let go. He knows about the twins. He knows where she lives. The only thing he doesn't know is what she's about to do next. We've reached the conclusion of our compelling African-Korean story. If this story moved you, hit that like button and subscribe for more incredible true stories that prove love can heal the deepest wounds. Share this with someone who needs to believe in second chances. Your support means everything to me. Comment below and tell us what part of this story touched your heart the most.